Greetings, this is Brother Joseph. I want to talk to you today about a call-in I did last night. It was on a live stream that David Wood was on. It was, I can't remember the woman's name, but it was her website, her YouTube channel. David Wood gave her his YouTube channel before he started another one. And, they're friends. They both do apologetics to Muslims, and they had the question, is Muhammad a false prophet, or do you believe he's a prophet? Call in and let us know. So I called in because, well, of course, I believe he's a false prophet, but I believe the reason why, which is another part of the question they were asking, is because when you look at his origins, we see, as I've been identifying, and I think it needs to be talked about more, that replacement theology somehow seeded what Muhammad was doing. So I put that on the table with David. David, of course, responded by giving a synopsis of the background of the story of Muhammad, how he saw himself as a prophet. The Jews had theirs, the Christians had theirs, and he was one to the Arabs. Everyone has their own prophet. He saw himself as one of them. And he was selling himself to the local Jews and Christians as a prophet, trying to get their approval. Well, they rejected him. And he moved, he gains followers, and then he starts warring and having success there. And that's when everything changes. So David gave that synopsis. And this is where he interjected, as well as I did, the idea that maybe it's possible, we don't really have evidence of it, but that this replacement theology was seeded things then, or somehow factored in there. Which is what I proposed to Robert Spencer. I had an email exchange with him, and it was good. I brought that up to David, and Robert responded in the email saying that he could see how replacement theology would factor in somehow, and that he would be looking forward to my article when I finish it. So hopefully I can finish that article. But something I didn't state clearly, and I wanted to do it in this video, is that, and plus I want to put the link to that live call-in stream. You get a chance to listen to it. I greatly appreciate their ministry. I tell you, it's needed. We need people evangelizing Muslims. There's such great potential there. If you're called to it, by all means do it. We need people evangelizing all around, and especially to the Muslims. Anyways, I wanted to put this on the table, how I think it factors in. And that's this, and I actually wrote it down. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss it. When he's rejected, he applies the same principle, because it was the Christians, by that time, replacement theology was the dominant view when it came to Jews. Replacement theology created hostility. It ignited hostility with the Christians against the Jews. And I've talked about this before, how you get statements from people like Chrysostom, and I'll just read some of these. I actually said it too on the live stream. Here's some of the things he said. They're fit for killing, the Jews. Unfit for work, they grew fit for the slaughter. They're murderers of Christ, and that's a key one. Men of darkened minds. They are a brothel, a den of scoundrel, temple of demons devoted to idolatrous cults, criminal assembly, a house of ill fame. Demons in the synagogues and in the souls of Jews. There are demons that dwell in them. They're wild beasts, they're pigs, they're goats. They're fallen into a condition of lower than the vilest animal. Worse than wolves, they are enemies of God. That's what he said of them. That language, you can hear it in Islam when you read about what the Muslims say, not just about the Jews, about the Christians. That's why I said it's like Muhammad took what was being done to the Jews by the Christians, this replacement theology, and he applied it to himself after he was rejected, saying that, I am the new prophet who's replacing the old prophet in Jesus. And now the Christians have become to us, those who following me, what the Jews are to the Christians. They're dogs. You can hear the same application, the same language being thrown. And it's not just what was being said even, because then you have those who wanted laws set up against them. Again, it's something that Islam has done. Listen to this. This is what they wanted. They wanted, by reason of their fault, them to be sentenced to perpetual servitude. That's what they were advocating for, some of these church fathers, when it came to treatment of Jews. They wanted laws to be put on the books so that they would be sentenced to perpetual servitude. They wanted an extraction of wealth, heavy taxation, sometimes just throwing them out of the country. Sometimes confiscating their land and just throwing them out. They wanted to reverse the gains of the Jews, the money that they take, and that's confiscation, to take things from them. They wanted policies that forced Jews to wear distinctive identifying badges on their clothing. Think about that. Badges. Where have we seen that before? They wanted to bar them from employment. They wanted to compel them to do physical labor. Forced physical labor. The second-class treatment of Jews. Now, if that's happening and he is seeing it, Muhammad, and then suddenly he's rejected. Remember, the Christians say, the Jews killed Christ, and that's why we're doing this. If now Christians are doing that to the Jews, he's seeing that. He sees himself as the new prophet. It makes sense. I mean, you don't need a slide rule map to figure this out. It's reasonable. It's what he's doing is he's applying it now. I'm the new prophet. I am replacing the old one in Jesus. And now I am going to apply all the same type of brutality to the Christians who rejected me and the Jews because they're second removed. It makes sense to me. And I think this is something as I'm writing and investigating even more, I'm looking forward to uncovering more with this. But what's behind this? Why would Christians do this, and what's behind it? What's unctioning Muhammad to do this? The vices of sin. There's 4 of them that I identify, and I'm putting in the article. The first one is perceived unforgiveness. This is where you get the language of they're Christ killers, they killed Jesus, they're, and you see in the language when you're reading their writings, what follows that always is this is what made them dirty, this is what made them worse than animals. The second one is vengeance, the sinful vice of vengeance. It's in the language. Therefore, because they killed Christ and we're not forgiving them for it, let's do this to them. Let's kill them. They're fit for killing. Let's confiscate their property. They're unfit to have it. That's vengeance. That's the sinful vice of vengeance. Something that Jesus preached against. He said vengeance belongs to God and God alone. Like with forgiveness, he said from the cross, Father, forgive them. Which, by the way, how can you accuse Jews of killing Christ when he said in John 10, they don't take my life from me, I give it freely. And if I can give it, I can take it back because the Father gave that to me. That's in John 10, verses 17 to 18, I believe. What did he say to Peter when Peter tried to stop him from taking him and killing him? Remember, Peter took his sword out, he chopped off the ear of the chief servant. Jesus said, put your sword back in its place. All who draw the sword will die by the sword. Do you not think, Peter, that I could call on 10 legions of angels and they could come down and defend me and just wipe everyone out? But all of this has taken place to fulfill what was written in the scriptures concerning me. How can we, and if we're going to accuse anybody, wouldn't we go to the Romans first? It's ridiculous. It's an excuse because they have the vice of sin, of unforgiveness and vengeance. Those vices of sin are there, and they were there with Muhammad, and that's where the connection lies. They're both wallowing in the same sin. Another sin is envy. This comes in the replacement talk. We've replaced them. We want their toys. It's like little children fighting over toys. No, the toys are mine. You know, Johnny's got a truck, and what does the little kid do? He wants to go take it because he's got the sin of envy. He envies Johnny for the truck. So he goes and he takes it like a little brat. It's like brats talking here, is what it is when you read their writings. It's disgusting. And then there's the sin of pride. They think of so greatly of themselves, they refuse to be corrected. The sin of pride. We deserve this thing. We deserve it. Because we're just that special and good. And again, you read it in the writings when they start talking about how great they are. And here's the thing. The question aside of whether who's the true people, just table that. The language here and the way this is going about is wrong. The prescriptions of, now this is how we're going to deal with Jews, is wrong. And you hear, this is the language that's used by those today who are jumping on the hate bandwagon of Jews, those Christians. They're using the same language. The same language. This replacement theology is evil. And I believe Muhammad took what was being done there and applied it to himself after being rejected by the Christians and the Jews. The vice of sin, of unforgiveness, blinded him. He was so full of pride, unforgiveness, perceived unforgiveness, and he had the vice of vengeance. I'm going to get revenge because they rejected me. And he envied it. He wanted so bad to be one of those prophets. He was going to do anything he could to obtain it. That's what I believe. And I think it's applicable. I'd like to hear this talked about more and investigated more. Hopefully I can get that article out soon. I got to finish the one on the One True Church. I didn't bring that up to David because it wasn't the topic and it wouldn't have been appropriate there and then. But I'll leave a link down in the description. I'll see if I can tag David on this. Hopefully he picks up on it, and hopefully it sparks something. I think this is worth talking about. Why is it important? Because these Christians are jumping on that hate bandwagon, and this is the answer to it. This is why church fathers in the 4th, 5th, 6th century had a Jew hate bandwagon called Replacement Theology. We need to wake up those Christians who are falling for this ruse. Wake them up and help them see that this is just a bad idea, so that they quit joining forces with Islam against Jews. It's not helping anybody. So I'm hoping this helps them, and that's why I'm making it an issue. Not because I want it to be an issue, but because I'm tired of people messaging me about how bad Jews are. I'm tired of the comments about the Jews, and everything's about Jews are the blame for everything. Just tired of it. Okay, I'm done rambling. So that's all I've got for you, and as always, God bless.